Good afternoon, I'm Elisabeth Guédel. I'm journalist, editor-in-chief for French Morning. It's a site for French and Francophone in North America, and the US correspondent for French TV channels, TV5 Monde and Canal+. So thank you for being with us for this discussion about you have the title, a long title, but it's about decarbonization investment in France. France is the leading country in among the main economies in Europe in the sector of decarbonization. So we have a very interesting panel, a large panel, very different cases, companies. So with us, Jeff Neuman, you are General Counsel and Corporate Secretary of Tronox. It's an American company and the world's largest supplier of
She's been working on this all afternoon.
Dioxide, so you will tell us more about it. Stephen Dincelli, you are a managing director at SK Capital Partners, sorry. So your company invests in companies specialized in specialty materials and ingredients and chemicals. That's right, in the pharmaceutical sector. Luc Henning, you are Chief Business Officer at Circ. Circ is a textile-to-textile recycling company based in Virginia, in America. And Michael Fernandez-Ferri, you are the French here, co-founder and managing director at Vela Sail for Goods. It's a French company specializing in wind-powered maritime transportation. Based in Bayonne, south of France, southwest. And Frédéric Rossi, you're French too. You are the CEO and USA and Canada of Business France North America. So my first question is very simple, and I'm going to start with you, Jeff, because Tronox has been investing in France for almost 2 centuries. It founded the oldest, or one of the oldest chemical plants in the world, and it's in Alsace, in France.
Alsace, yes.
So what I said, it produces titanium dioxide, so I don't know much about it, but I think it's something to do with lead paint.
Yeah, so titanium dioxide, for those of you who don't know it, essentially replaced lead in paint. Paint, a coating in order to cover a wall or to cover anything, needs a metallic substrate to refract light. It used to be lead. Lead's not so good for children and other people. And so many years ago, titanium dioxide became that metal that replaced it. And as you said, we operate a facility in Thann, France. Thann is an absolutely beautiful medieval city located at the base of the Route de Vin, which is the Riesling wine country. In fact, the factory has vineyards coming down literally to the fence. In the showcase, in the entranceway, is a certificate from Napoleon Bonaparte, who was the first one to license the facility some 200 years ago. So it's an old facility, but we've repurposed it. The titanium dioxide business is a mass chemical business for the likes of Sherwin-Williams, AkzoNobel, PPG, companies like that. This factory is a minnow factory, and many years ago we decided to repurpose it for specialty products really targeted at environmental businesses.
So decarbonization is
huge for us, as well as air pollution control. So we make a lot of innovative products that rely on the catalytic properties of titanium. So for example, catalysis in brine waters that extract lithium, materials for the cathodes in batteries, catalysts that can be used in direct air capture, specialty applications in solar panels, not the kind that you would have out in a field, but a miniaturization of solar panels for specialty applications. So we took a dwarf and we turned it into a giant. We took lemons, we made it into lemonade, and it's really our global center now of innovation around green technologies.
So thank you, Stephen. SK Capital, so it's an investment firm. So why for you choose for years now. You're investing in France, and why decarbonization for your business?
So I think for us, we need to think about it in two separate ways. SK Capital is a private investment firm, and we specialize in certain sectors, as Elisabeth mentioned, and we invest globally. So first, we need to think about in the context of why do we invest in a business in France, and then second, within that business, why we choose to continue to make investments within the locations that are headquartered or based in France. And as we think about the first question, what we consider is the characteristics of the business. And France has many businesses that are clear market leaders in their areas. And one of the key criteria that we look for is companies that have competitive IP, that have an advantage. And there are many such businesses in pharmaceuticals, ingredients, chemicals, and materials in the French theater. In terms of the second question, why do invest within those companies in the French region? That comes down to what are the characteristics of that region. There's a good energy mix today in the French theater. There's very attractive logistics in France. There's skilled labor. And what you're seeing on a very commonly discussed topic today is reshoring. And the French government is very supportive of reshoring through a number of different ways that we'll touch on a bit later. But reshoring is something that really motivates a business to invest in production in that region, as you know that you're going to have local demand, whether it be local within France or local within the European theater.
Thank you, Stephen. Alors, Cirque is something different, Luc, because you're looking for a place in Europe, maybe in France, to open your first plant in recycling, textile recycling. So, would you choose France?
So, I think explaining why France is so attractive to us, I think it touches a lot of the points that Stephen was saying. You've got excellent logistics, you've got an excellent energy mix, but very importantly, there's a strong interest from central government and from all the regions to actually bring circular technologies into France. There's a strong feeling that France wants to be the leader in the circular economy within Europe and is doing everything they can to support this. So things like shortcutting how long it takes, simplifying the process to get permits, simplifying the process by which you can come into the country. There are innumerable ways that we have felt really strong and measurable support throughout the French government, and we have also felt it very strongly from the businesses that are in France. So for us, energy mix, logistics, all of these things are great, but there's a very strong regulatory environment backing up circularity. There is a huge interest in textiles as a sector, and so it makes a lot of sense for Europe, for France to be under,
Can you just explain what you're doing exactly?
Yes, maybe it would be good if I explained. We developed a technology to recycle blended textiles. So polyester and cotton blends are the biggest waste stream in textiles, and we're able to take polycotton, break down the polyester, and recover the basic building blocks there to make new polyester, and the cotton cellulose we can use instead of trees to make lyocell and viscose. So we could take both fractions, recover them, and take them back into the textile supply chain. So we're a textile-to-textile recycler.
Thank you. So before to talk with you, Michael, I just want to ask Frédéric, so how Business France is helping these very different companies?
Yes, basically we are a government agency, French government agency, but we like to think of us more as a location services provider. Because when you want to establish a new investment, a new factory, a greenfield or reinvestment, it's a complex decision process. You need to, and you said it right, to evaluate a lot of parameters, the market potential, the utilities, the site location, the pool of talents also that you will find locally. And for that, you need to get in touch with a lot of different people, the government organizations, the ministries, the local provinces in France, the régions, because they have the economic power now to attract the foreign investors on their territory. And so we try to stand side by side with the potential investors to put them in relation with the right people at the right moment to make sure that the process is smooth and the project will be delivered on time and on budget. And we do that thanks to a network here in the US of 6 offices, 20 consultants, a US desk based at our headquarters in Paris, and some specialized services on each of the categories that are relevant. And that works quite well because every year we identify something like 500 potential projects that might go to Europe, and so might go to France. And out of those, in the next 2 years, there will be around 300 that will land definitely in France. That put us for the fourth year in a row on the top in the European ranking of number of projects. It's not Business France saying that, it's EY, so I trust it's reliable. And the US is the first contributor to that trend.
So one of your activities is to assisting French companies to invest or for the development in
Yeah,
America.
we do that the other way too.
Yes.
For smaller companies, SMEs or startups that are coming to France and that want to land in the US.
So, Michael, Vela Sail for Goods, sorry. You're not investing in France, obviously, but you just raised a transatlantic funding round of $40 million, to build your first cargo ship. So, how did you do that? How was it possible?
Yeah, thank you. Vela is a fast 100% sailing shipping service between France and the US, using and leveraging on the power of wind. Wind is available, free, available 24/7. We tend to forget it because we don't see it, but it's an amazing source of energy, and we wanted to use it to decarbonize the international transportation. And for us, from day one, it was obvious that we wanted to have French and American partners and investors, and we were lucky enough to receive the support of the Schmidt Family Foundation in this roundtable, together with French banks and French local investors. And well, how was that possible? I guess because we had the best team, but jokes aside, among the team, we do have a French ocean racer, François Gabard, and I believe he's the symbol of that legacy that we have in France when it comes to sailing. We have the so-called sailing valley between, for those of you who know it, Brittany, Normandy. You have all innovation happening here for the past decades that made this possible to have that talents and that intellectual and industrial legacy that this is happening right now in France, and I believe we can build on that momentum to build French champions in zero carbon shipping.
And you will be the first maritime line between France and the US.
Yeah, we want to be the express line going back and forth from France to the US and US and France.
Express line, yeah, of course. So I would like to know how the French government is helping you to achieve your goal.
Well, in many forms. First, they've been investing in the project. We heard this morning Nicolas Dufour, and we were also lucky enough to receive the support of BPI, but we've been working with the team of Business France to also develop the business. For us, the business is basically finding cargo goods to transport with the vessel, so both in France and in the US, fulfilling the vessel with goods, any type of goods, palletized goods, especially in the high-end industry, that is luxury, pharmaceuticals, medical devices, wine and spirits, etc., etc. And that way we've been working together with the teams of Business France, and we'll keep on doing it. And last, I was speaking of equity raising, but we had also the chance to raise some debt at that stage of the company. And sometimes when I'm telling this to Americans, they struggle to believe me that being a pre-revenue company, we were able to raise 25 million debt at a very competitive price, and that is because we have the support of the French government. So that's, I believe, a chance that we have.
And Stephen, for you told me that 20 years ago you couldn't imagine to invest in France because of the regulations. Mm-hmm. Europe is a champion for that, in France too.
Yeah.
So what is the difference now?
Frédéric.
Of course.
If you do rewind and go back in time, the common...
I just invited him, not paid him.
The common reputation in France was incredibly bureaucratic, loads of red tape, relatively inflexible labor. And these are things that for businesses, startup companies, more mature businesses are limiting. Limits your agility, limits your ability to move quickly. We've seen a pretty pronounced and meaningful change over the last 15 years, but really the last 10 years, where you're really working much more collaboratively with the French government to accomplish goals that benefit both businesses and France's objectives. And I'll try to bring that to life with one specific example. So we own 25 different businesses, including one that's headquartered in France. It's a company called Sequens. It's based in Lyon. It's a specialty pharmaceutical solutions provider. And they produce the active ingredients that go into many of the products that we all consume, including the products that go into Tylenol, the active ingredient, or for the French in the room, Doliprane. That product is currently produced out of a facility in China. So Sequens has a global manufacturing footprint. In partnership with the French government, we are reshoring that or shifting the production into one of our facilities in Rossi. And there's two advantages to that. One is in doing this, we're also investing in an innovative new production process that will enable us to reduce the carbon footprint by over 40%. And the second piece relates to something that we all experienced in a very pronounced fashion during COVID, which is supply chain disruption. And it gets to French sovereignty, or European sovereignty as well in this case, where nearly 100% of the production of acetaminophen, that active ingredient, is currently produced in China. And by virtue of reshoring this manufacturing process, this production, Sequens will be able to produce 50% of the volume needs that the European economies require for this key product. In terms of what the French government did in partnership with us, it really cuts across two different vectors. One is financial. And in the financial lens, think of this as subsidies. Subsidies that enable us to invest in these new production processes, both the innovation to develop them, but also importantly, the equipment and the engineering work to deploy that project. And the second piece, and Frédéric touched on this, is there's many different regulatory approvals that are required in order to move forward with a project of this scale. Navigating local authorities to get those approvals can be quite cumbersome. And there are regional boards and governance policies and authorities that have helped us navigate this and to maintain the project on a very aggressive timeline.
Thank you, Stephen. And Jeff, do you share the same experience?
Oh, absolutely. What he said, there's been a sea change in the attitude of French society, French government in terms of welcoming business. And for us, having an R&D center, we get support in multiple ways. And first, just the local community. We're in a very small town in the midst of Alsace. We get tremendous support from the local community. In addition, we do a large amount of R&D there, and there's very generous tax credits that the French government gets that provides a tax credit essentially for 30% of the R&D. Then in an R&D business like ours, you kind of need two levels of expertise, of labor. You need the technicians who kind of perform the lab work, and then you need the PhDs. And France has excellent education system, so it enables us to recruit the kind of technicians we need locally. And then it's a very attractive place to be, and so we're able to recruit PhDs from around the world and bring them into France. So it's going to continue to really be a center of R&D and innovation for us. And it's an exciting time to be in France right now.
So I think you're convinced, Niall, to invest in France?
Well, I just laugh because a lot of the points that I would have touched on have just been touched on. So I think the biggest thing for me as a startup that I would say is that what we wouldn't have expected in evaluating France was speed. And what they have been doing very strongly is showing ways in which they can support speed, because time is a very big enemy for any startup, because you are running on investor dollars. And so anything that helps projects be on time and on track is incredibly powerful. And everyone we have dealt with in France has gone out of their way to make it as quick, but also as pleasant as possible. It's been a delight to work with everyone who's just been so helpful, frankly, to us in everything we've been trying to do in France.
But you have a big competitivity in Europe, and you said you went to more than 50 sites to discuss about,
When we said we were considering Europe, yes, a lot of agencies from various countries similar to Business France did reach out. I think there are several strong benefits for France. One is that energy mix is important because France has one of the cleanest grids in Europe by far. The other thing that is important there is, like I say, speed. When we put forward what we needed in terms of sites, there were a lot of very attractive, very good sites given to us very quickly so that we could immediately go and travel, see those sites. They were accessible. They introduced us to partners immediately. So these things are all super powerful. And, personally, it's that point about it's attractive as a place to be. Because if you want to attract countries, they stay, the people that you attract stay if they're not just they're happy, but if their partners are happy. It's the number one thing that keeps people there. So having good schools for people's kids, having opportunities for their spouses, that is vitally important as well.
So now about the future, Stephen, how do you see your company in 6 years, 2030? It's tomorrow.
It's a bit of a crystal ball, but what I can say is our commitment to investing in the French region remains unchanged. And if we continue on the current trajectory with a very pro-business and business-friendly environment, we would expect to continue to actively look for new investments in the French region, which we are. We're currently looking at a number, and to continue to invest within our businesses, both in new production, but also in decarbonization initiatives, which is just good business. You're able to reduce your costs by making your companies more energy efficient, by using less waste. You're able to generate more sales by showing the value proposition to your customers of partnering with a more sustainable provider. And you're really able to boost employee morale by demonstrating a commitment and a purpose to improving the environment. So in the French region, we're quite active, and we intend to continue to be. And we're fortunate to have recently raised 2 separate vehicles. One is a middle market focused fund, so 3 billion of capital that we've raised, of which we'll look to deploy quite a bit in the European theater. And the other is a lower middle market fund, so 800 million of capital that'll be focused on same strategy, same global remit, but on companies of a slightly smaller scale.
So you're investing for 12 years now in France, and for you, 2 centuries, the 6 years, it's nothing?
Yeah, no, we've been there for 200 years, so we take the long-term perspective. But for us, what's next, and again, a point that Stephen made about how important industrial resilience is, and I think one of the differences of France, and maybe I'll point out Germany, is that I think France really understands the importance of building these supply chains. And we saw what happened in COVID, although I think the world's forgotten a little too quickly. And so for us, and what we've been talking to the French government about is getting into titanium metal. Because right now, the European aerospace industry, well, the world's aerospace industry is reliant on Russian and Kazakhstan and Chinese titanium metal. We have the technology to make the precursor chemicals you need to make the metal. And France, I think, is really on the cutting edge of developing an aerospace center of excellence in the southwest of France. And we would love to be a part of that as a titanium metal supplier.
And for you, Luc, in France in 6 years?
So let's assume the evaluation,
I'm trying
everything
to
pans out and the support continues to be as strong as it is, and we will have the world's premier textile-to-textile recycling facility built in France, and it will be used as the showcase and the training center effectively for staff as we roll out these facilities globally, because that's the thing with textiles, is the problem is global, and so we will have to not just build the facility in France, but we will need to very rapidly from there, and using that as a base, produce facilities around the world, especially in Southeast Asia.
And Frédéric, what do you hearing from companies you're assisting? They are about the future. They are confident?
I think they are confident and they say it. If I would say what I would expect for 2030, I think in a world that we are now, the transatlantic relationship is really becoming even more centric, even more important for both sides of the ocean. And I would love that the cross investments would increase, double, and all that. And I would expect the same companies to say the same things about France in 2030 as they are saying, as what they are saying today.
So
I think it's important.
Transatlantic.
So we need to keep
business.
our attractivity.
And for Michael, so here we are, the transatlantic business. You will have the last word of this panel.
Absolutely. I mean, we are transatlantic, right? We have to be, because we ship stuff from one part to the other of the Atlantic. And basically what we envision by 2030 is a green corridor between Paris and New York. Think of it as a highway with fast-sailing ships going back and forth. This is what we want to do. So to the shippers in the room, to the brands in the room, if you can't do like my friend at Cirque by producing locally, just sail with us. Just ship it zero carbon. Because if actually you look at the world map and changing the distance by the carbon intensity of shipping comparing to air freight, sailing it would put New York 10 kilometers away from Paris. So it's like producing locally. It's like shipping at zero emission. So join us on that journey.
And can we help you if the audience want to join you?
We still have a few spots left, but it's filling up quickly.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you.